So I had a question in one of my early videos about when I was sowing canola, about the seed and where does it come from. Well, we were sowing our own canola seed, which is what we grew from. It's basically the grain that we grew from the previous year. So when the plant grows up, it has its seed pod. Then when we harvest it, this is the grain that it produces. Now this is an oil seed grain, that's what it's mostly grown for, is for its oil content. So I'll try and demonstrate that a little bit. So this is a very crude way of doing it. If I crush it a bit, you can sort of see the moisture on the steel, on the rusty steel. That is the actual oil inside the seed itself. Now that's a very crude method of doing it. When they actually crush it, they'll use an oil expeller of some sort. It'll be a lot more efficient of extracting oil, and I'll just leave it with a meal that's left over, which will be basically the yellow bit that's left over. That'll be crushed a lot more. There'll be a lot more oil in that. Usually around about 40% oil, the canola is, and the rest is left over will be a meal, and that'll often get turned into stock feed. It's pretty good, pretty high in protein, I think, for stock feed. So this here, before I sow, put it in for crop. I've cleaned it very roughly. When you buy canola seed, it'll just be all nice black seeds, no other chaff, no other discoloration, that's all it'll be. But I did check this for germination to make sure it was good seed, and it came back about 95%. And I did a bit of a real world test, about a month or so ago, just spread some on the ground, watered it, make sure it worked, and it did. So this is a hybrid canola seed, which is dual purpose, basically for grazing and grain in the end. Now the reason why we're using our own is when we sell this canola at harvest time, it's worth $500 to $600 a ton, that sort of area. It just depends on its own oil content, because you get paid. If you get over a certain percentage, you'll get more for it. If you're under a certain amount, you'll get docked for it. So it's a bit of a variable on your actual grain quality. But because it's a hybrid and dual purpose one, it's a very expensive seed. So say this is a different variety of canola this year, but this bag here, if it was this variety here, this bag would be about $700 for 20 kilos. This stuff here, of course, is about $500 to $600 a ton. So it's massively cheaper to use your own seed. Of course, this seed has been nicely cleaned. It's proven. It knows exactly what it is. This here is a bit of a how you go and you sort it out yourself type thing. Hasn't had any treatments on it or anything like that. And you usually want to buy new seed, because new seed is basically bred for the purpose of that crop. So it'll be basically guaranteed to do what it's supposed to do. Whereas everything, doesn't matter whether it's people or sheep or cattle or whatever, changes over time from generation to generation. So the canola may not have all the desirable traits it has, but for what we're doing, it's what we're going to use. And because this variety, you can't buy the seed for it this year anyway. There's just not enough supply, so people are going without. So that's another reason why we're using our own.